incident that took place on Monday, and this was in Bamburi, but Kenya slides into gangsters' paradise. And of course, the questions that have been raised, which are yet to be answered, if we use that as a case study, is the fact in Bamburi, there was a 3-hour, or at least about 3 hours, in terms of gangsters who raided and harassed Mwananchi with no response from the authorities. Brian?
Sure. And I think it's important that you raised this topic and tie it together with the standard. And I want to revisit some comments that Mark was making against me when I launched my Brian Mutie Peace Initiative in Nairobi. And he was asking me, Brian, why are you doing this? Do we have violence in Nairobi? And I told him, violence sometimes is unpredictable. Because nobody knew that Bamburi case would actually, these people will come up. And therefore, this is a way of actually trying to educate the masses.
That is called strategy, Brian.
That's strategy.
You look for an entry point. Anyway,
exactly. But anyway, going forward on this one, it's very important that we also understand that the issue of peace and violence is a very dynamic issue. They can strike any time. They can come in any form, any color, any size, and so on and so on. But the most important thing is actually to understand that in every socio-economic setup, there's always that latent potential for violence to erupt because of the structural, changes within the socio-economic setup. And Kenya is not exceptional. And by going forward and looking into the issues arising against these kind of gangsters. These gangsters have always been with us here. It's only that they keep that docility, that dormant state of affair, waiting for the right time to erupt. But I want to say that going forward, I think it's important to look at the structural causes that make these things thrive or come into existence. One, I tell you, is the issues of unemployment. I think as a country, we are not doing very well. We need to address the issues that affect the youth, and this one is unemployment. The other one is actually the issue of drug abuse. When you look at the setup, this is Bamburi and this is Mombasa, which is actually a transit point for drugs. And the abuse of drugs is very rampant in that region, and therefore, this could be a contributor. So how do we go forward? I think we need to put study and understand what are the grievances that these people are having, because this is not issues to do with terrorism. This is just a structural state affair that need to be looked into, and perhaps measures put in place to ensure that our youth are not going to be vulnerable.
All right,
to
Philip,
this.
maybe concerns regarding the fact that it took the authorities about 3 hours to respond, and how this happened literally with them asleep.
It's like we live in a banana republic where we have no government. It's like the government is helpless. It's like we don't have a police force to keep peace and prevent such conflicts. I was surprised that it would actually take 3 hours. And remember, this is not only happening in Mombasa. We've had such similar incidences in Kakamega where people are hacked. There's a time almost 14 people are hacked to death in one night, yet we have a police force. It points to an incompetent or a complicit police force. This squarely rests upon the IG. What is he doing? Why is he sleeping on the job? Who is the OCPD and the OCS for that particular area? Where were they? What were they doing? What mechanisms have they put in place to prevent this? We've been hearing about this particular gang for almost a year now, and nothing has been done. I think it is a high time these people are summoned by the Security Committee in Parliament to explain the rampant insecurity in some parts of this country. They should be held to account. They should tell Kenyans what kind of help do they need to keep us safe.
All right, and Bichachi, do you think that the breeding of these gangsters and gangs are specifically or could be attached to our economic state? We'll be discussing the economy in just a bit.
Well, of course, any country which is struggling economically has the effect of people ganging up, and it also has the effect of great unemployment creates criminality because people are looking for a way to live. But what is most dangerous about the Kenyan criminal scene, and the article speaks to this, is the political connection with crime. And you've seen every time we get, you call them flamboyant businessmen. They always have pictures with politicians. Every flamboyant businessman who sells fake gold somewhere in Kilimani. And that's the issue. issue, that in Kenya it's crime and politics are twined. And we've seen this even in cases of Mungiki, where Mungiki is aroused every time elections are near.
Activated.
And we also know for a fact that every time it's an election year, crime goes up. So it is the unholy matrimony between criminality and politics in this country that is making these gangs thrive even more in this country, because they have political protection, and that's the key issue. Also, a lot of the guns they use are allegedly given to them by licensed gun holders. So you hire them out to these thugs to go do these criminals. And that's the problem, because to be a licensed gun holder in this country, you have to be significantly wealthy. So if you're wealthy and you want 20,000 shillings a day still, you can imagine the amount of greed that we have as a country. And that goes also into the police, because we know that the police have been allegedly in cahoots with these criminal gangs. And one day I remember my phone was stolen in town, and the policeman asked me where. Then he said, ile ni gang ya so and so. I don't want to say the name so that they think it's tribal profiling. But they told me, so I'm like, if you know who it is,
why aren't you doing anything about
it? And those are the kind of things where the political class, the middle upper class, and the police are partners in this kind of criminality.
All right, Ruth, the youth are affected by this primarily. And what is interesting in this particular gangs that we see even in today's daily is the fact there is a huge political connection.
Yes.
The youth are always roped in when politicians want to utilize and use them negatively. How do we get ourselves out of that? Because it has a political angle, but a very strong political angle as well.
Yes. First of all, there's a study that shows that 54.8% of those who engage in criminal activities and security threat activities are between the age of 15 to 30. The age of 15 to 30 is an age where most young people, and these are just youth, young people should either be in school or working, or right out of school seeking employment. So for me, I would connect this very strongly to the high level of unemployment within this country. The fact that we have a huge number of young people who first of all, cannot access education, and then second, who access education but cannot get employment or even sources of income out there. So I feel that the connection between political mobilization and unemployment is very huge. That if young people had businesses they were running, that if each and every young person had a source of income that they were actively involved in, it would be very difficult for a politician to come and tell me that, oh, Ruth, I'm going to pay you 500 shillings to go and cause chaos in a particular politician's camp or in a particular village and cause chaos and now start, political conversations. So I think there's a huge connection between unemployment and political mobilization, and the fact that if we can empower young people, if the government can focus on creating employment for these young people, and not just creating employment, but also supporting business ventures that the young people come up with. And I have to bring this up from the point that currently we have the Building Bridges initiative that's been going around collecting views. And I happened to be privileged to be among the young people who are representing the views of the young people. And one of the things that we were championing for, or asking the BBI committee to speak on our behalf as young people, is to ask the government to be able to create loans, loans for young people to be able to start businesses, and also to reduce the barriers of starting businesses and doing business in the country, because some of the frustrations that the young people face are what lead them to crime. And some of these young people who engage in crime later on are people who had started businesses, but because of frustrations along the way, and some of these frustrations are, instigated by our economic system, also instigated by the kind of county government systems that they have, county governments coming and kicking you out of your business area, or because of your inability to pay taxes, your business goes down, or the high requirements to start a business, your business goes down. I really connect this to the unemployment, the high level of unemployment in the country, and I believe that if young people would have productive means of engaging and earning a source of income, decent living, they would not be
engaged in that. All right, and that story is on page 6 of the Standard today if you'd like to get more details of that, and it highlights some of the areas. You have Homa Bay, Migori, Busia, Turkana, Mombasa, Kwale, so it's pretty widespread. But let's move on to